sewage. Now, when we talk about sewage, so it will contain a lot of, you can say, organic matter and waste product, and all in all, it will also have microbes present in it. And we know that many microbes are pathogenic, meaning they have a potential to cause diseases, isn't it? All of the students switch on your videos. Now, what happens
Ma'am,
is that, yes,
I won't be able to on my camera today.
why?
Ma'am, I'm in a hotel now.
Hmm?
So I'm in a hotel.
Okay.
So I'm
All
sharing
right.
with my brother, so it's dark here.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, yeah. So, as I was saying, that this sewage which comes out of homes and everywhere, so this can't be directly discharged in the water body. Normally, the water gets discharged in the major water bodies, but this can't. Why? Because the sewage contains a lot of pathogen, it contains a lot of waste material, excreta in it, so it can't be discharged directly into the water. So that is why we have to treat the sewage. We have to make it safe enough to be discharged into the water bodies. So this is what we call as sewage treatment plants, like proper sewage treatment plants, meaning factories of that. Factories, not actually factories, it's the processing unit. The big processing units are present that actually treat the sewage before releasing it into the large water bodies. So before disposal, the sewage is treated in sewage treatment plants to make it less polluting. Treatment of wastewater is done by heterotrophic microbes naturally present in the sewage. Up, the main thing is that the sewage treatment is done in like stages: primary stage, secondary stage, tertiary stage. So when we talk about the primary treatment of sewage, what happens here is that like these treatment steps basically involve physical removal of particles, large and small, from the sewage through filtration and sedimentation. So the primary treatment is the physical treatment of the sewage, wherein anything that is floating, the large particles, any you can say stones, the excreta, anything that is larger, and also the smaller ones, they are removed with the help of two processes: filtration and sedimentation. So primary treatment is the physical treatment of the sewage. Now, what happens is that the grit, the soil, the small pebbles, these are removed by sedimentation, and floating debris and all of that is removed by filtration. We filter it out, and then all those soil and particles that we can't filter out, so we sediment them. We let them settle at the bottom, and then we remove it. So all the solids that settle from the primary sludge, like everything that has been settling down at the bottom, it becomes the primary sludge. And the one that is at the top, the supernatant, that becomes the effluent. So after the primary treatment has been done, we get two things. We get the primary sludge and then we get the supernatant, which is the effluent. Now, this effluent, the part that is not settled at the bottom, the part that is in the like, above the bottom, now that goes for the secondary treatment, the next treatment. Now, secondary treatment, just like how primary treatment was the physical treatment, the secondary treatment is the biological treatment. Now here what happens? That the primary effluent gets passed into large aeration tanks. So now the effluent from the primary treatment, it goes on into big tanks. Now here aeration tanks, meaning they are constantly, like you can say, stirred. Stirring is happening, and so that a lot of air can be pumped into it. Now with the help of that air, a lot of microbes grow on that, and that is flocks, like the mass of bacteria, like a group of bacteria or a group of microbes that is growing. It sort of looks like a proper network like structure, and that is what we call as flocks. And how are the flocks being made? Because we are giving air into the secondary treatment or the tank, because of which the aerobic bacteria, the ones that use oxygen, they develop. Now while growing, now they are growing, they need nutrients, so they start feeding on the effluent, the part that we are trying to you can say treat. They start feeding on it, and because of that, the microbes will consume the major part of the organic matter. Now, whatever organic matter is present in that effluent, in the part that is undergoing the secondary treatment, so now they will, like the microbes will start feeding on it. Now, when the microbes feed on it, then what happens? That the biological or biochemical oxygen demand reduces. Now, when the BOD, this BOD, that is biochemical oxygen demand, when it is reduced, then that means that the water is now slowly getting better. Okay, it's getting, you can say, less polluting. Okay, so whenever BOD decreases, the pollution, like the polluting property of the water also decreases. So now what is BOD? So biochemical oxygen demand refers to the amount of oxygen that would be consumed if all the organic matter in 1 liter of water were oxidized by bacteria. Meaning whatever, like if this is the tank in here, water and organic matter and all the things are there. So this organic matter is what the bacteria feeds on. So when these organic matter will be like taken up by the bacteria, eaten up by the bacteria, then the BOD will reduce. So the BOD test measures the rate of uptake of oxygen by microorganism. So we know that the more oxygen that is being produced, it means that the organic waste is being used by the bacteria. But if the BOD is greater, if the BOD is higher, then polluting property of the water is also higher. BOD less, then pollution less. That also becomes less. Always remember this. Now, once the BOD gets reduced, then this effluent from the secondary treatment tank goes to the settling tank. Now here the bacterial flocks are allowed to sediment. Now, since the effluent does not have any floating particle, it does not have any organic material. So now the bacteria that was developed in the secondary treatment, now it will settle down at the bottom. Now sedimentation will happen and this sediment is called as activated sludge. Part of this sludge is sent back into the aeration tank. Just like how whenever we try to make curd at home, we take 1 spoon or 2 spoons of curd that has already been there and then we add it to the milk. So that is inoculum. The part that we are taking out to add somewhere, that becomes the inoculum. So here the sediment, meaning the flock of bacteria, we take some of it and send back to the tank so that new bacteria can be made. Then the remaining major part of the sludge is pumped into large tank that is now anaerobic sludge digester. Now what we have left is the sludge and now we have to treat it anaerobically, meaning in the absence of oxygen. First, we did it in the presence of oxygen. Now we're doing it in the absence of oxygen. Now here other kinds of bacteria which grow anaerobically digest the bacteria and the fungi in the sludge. Now the anaerobic bacteria, they will start digesting the aerobic bacteria, meaning the flocks that were there. Now these anaerobic bacteria will start digesting the flocks. Now during this digestion process is happening, then the bacteria, it produces a mixture of gases such as methane, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide. These gases are made in that process. And these gases altogether form biogas. Now, biogas is a gas that is inflammable, meaning if you light a fire, it will, like if you like burn it, it can be burned easily. So that becomes a source of energy. People can use it for cooking, for many things. So this biogas is made up of three components. We have methane, we have hydrogen sulfide, and we have CO2. You people must remember the components of the biogas. Now, here after the anaerobic thing is done, then the you can say secondary treatment has been completed. Now the water can be released into the water bodies. Now the sewage can be released into the water body because it has now been treated. Any doubts in this, student?
No, ma'am.
So see, this is a picture of a sewage plant wherein in one place there will be aerobic, there will be filtration and everything. So this is a sewage plant, and this is how the sewage treatment is done. Now, what happens here also, we are using microbes, isn't it? In the first half, we did the physical part. Then when come like we move on to the secondary treatment, in that we saw aerobic bacteria. Then we saw anaerobic bacteria. So we are seeing that the bacteria, we are using them. So this is how microbes are so helpful to us. Now, just in case, if the water, the sewage water, people want to use it for drinking and purpose, right? So now another step has to be done, that is tertiary treatment, to make it able to be used by us, not just drinking, but used by us. But that is not for the scope of your chapter. Moving forward, what happens is that because the population is increasing, and because everyone now have home, and there are people like, larger population means larger production of waste, larger production of sewage also. So now sewage is produced much more. But then what happens to the sewage? It goes into the water body. And if water body is getting the polluting water in it, then it will get polluted. So all in all, we can say that if we do sewage treatment, then water pollution can be checked. Now, the Ministry of Environment and Forests has initiated Ganga Action Plan and Yamuna Action Plan. We know Ganga and Yamuna are the rivers in India, and these rivers have to be saved from pollution. So, these plans are there to save them from pollution. Now, under these plans, it is proposed to build a large number of sewage treatment plants so that only treated sewage may be discharged in the rivers. Because many people who live near the riverside, they use river water for consumption also. So if the water has sewage in it, if it has microbes in it, deadly microbes, then a person will get diseases, the person will die. Also, the river would smell. So that is why sewage treatment is very important. Any doubts, students, up until now?
No, ma'am.
All right. Now talking about the microbes in the production of biogas. Now, as I told you that the biogas is a mixture of many gases such as methane, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide. So biogas is a mixture of gases, and most like the you can say the most abundant one out of it is the methane. Now this is produced by the microbial activity, and biogas is used as a fuel. Now, the type of gas produced depends upon the microbe and the organic substrate. Now, what happens is that we know that for fermentation, for alcohol production, for cheese, and for curd, all of these we use bacteria that is like responsible for production of CO2. And then only fermentation happens. But there are some bacteria that will produce like that will respire or be anaerobic in nature. Okay, but since they are anaerobic, so instead of producing a lot of CO2, they will also produce a lot of methane. Now, methane, the bacteria that produce the methane, the group of bacteria, they are known as methanogens. And one example of a methanogen is methanobacterium. This is an example of a bacteria species, which is a methanogen. Methanogen means methane producing bacteria. Now, these bacteria, they are found in anaerobic sludge during sewage treatment. We just saw that. Now, they are also present in the rumen, meaning in the stomach of the cattle, like cows, buffaloes. Their stomach, like the part of their stomach is known as rumen, and they have anaerobic bacteria present in it. Now, a lot of cellulosic material present in the food of cattle is also present in the rumen. So now in the rumen part, what happens is that the bacteria starts to digest or break down the cellulose, because the plants, they eat the cattle, they eat plants, right? And plants have cellulose in the cell wall. So these anaerobic bacteria, they are there for digestion of the cellulose part. Now, It means that now, since the stomach of the cattle has the anaerobic bacteria in it, it means that once the excreta, meaning the cow dung, will be there, the cow dung will also have the anaerobic bacteria, right? So now these bacteria or the cow dung can be used for the generation of biogas, okay, which is also known as gobar gas, because gobar is the Hindi word for this thing, cow dung. So what happens? The biogas plant consists of a concrete tank, a big tank which is 10 to 15 feet. A big tank is there, and which is present under the soil area. Okay. So here what happens in the rural areas where there are a lot of cows, there are a lot of sheds. So people, what they do, that they start collecting the cow dung and everything, because we know that cow dung in general, without even treatment, in village areas, in rural areas, the cow dung is used as a fuel. People burn it. So for this biogas plant, what they do is that they take the waste and they collect it in the concrete tank. Okay, a slurry of dung is fed, meaning it is mixed with water and put in the concrete tank. Now, a floating cover is placed over the slurry, which keeps on rising as the gas is produced. So, a cover is kept so that whenever the methane gas or the CO2 will be produced, the cover will rise up to indicate us that the gas has been produced. Now, the biogas plant has an outlet which is connected to a pipe to supply biogas to nearby houses. Just like how there are gas pipelines, same way, biogas pipelines are also there. And when people use this, when you light a flame, then it will burn. So that will help them to cook or do whatever on the gas stove. So the spent slurry, now the part like the dung and everything which has been digested, then whatever is the left part, it has an outlet. So people take it out. Now they don't even waste that. They use it as manure. They use it as fertilizer. So they give it to the soil so that the plant can have it. Now, the cattle dung is available in large quantities in rural areas where cattle are used for a variety of purposes. So, these biogas gas plants, why would they be in the urban areas or the city areas? So, they will be in more number in the rural areas. Now, the biogas, which consists of methane, H2S, and CO2. So this is used for cooking and lighting, and the picture of a biogas gas plant is here. So now you people should know. So who thought about this? Like, who thought about this? You can say idea as to the cow dung, which people think of as being useless. How can that be? So this technology of biogas production was developed in India only, mainly due to the efforts of Indian Agriculture Research Institute, IARI. Apart from that, there is also Khadi and Village Industries Commission, KVIC. So they two together thought of this genius idea. Okay. Any doubts in biogas plant?
No, ma'am.
It's clear, right? You people, like, I hope this chapter is not troubling you. It's like just theory, nothing to get the concept of. It's just you read it and you know. Any doubts up
Yes,
until now?
ma'am. No, ma'am.
What about the others, Amna and Siddhika?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All right, very good. Now let us talk about. Now, see, in this chapter, we are seeing the different roles of microbes, how they are affecting us, how they are helpful to us, and how do we use them. Because as humans, we are so capable of using things, right? We are very smart in that term. Now, talking about microbes that are being used as biocontrol agents. Now, biocontrol means we use, like, for example, you might have heard that for plants, right? If the plants have insects attacking it, if the plants have pests attacking it, so we use insecticides and we use pesticides. But we know that those are chemicals, and that is really harmful because ultimately we are going to eat it. Why? Because we are using the plants. So for controlling the plant diseases and pests, a better way of doing it is by using biocontrol agent. This is a biological method for controlling plant diseases and pests. So we know that we start using insecticides and pesticides, which is very harmful to us. So these chemicals are toxic and extremely harmful to human beings, animals, and they also pollute the soil. They pollute the water, like groundwater, and also the fruit, vegetables, and crop plants which we get out of them. It's like so bad for us. So biocontrol is happening. Now here what happens, we use microorganisms, we use certain things, insects enough to kill the pest. Now let us see how. Now there is a method of controlling pest that relies on natural predation rather than introduced chemicals. So we know that there are certain organisms that eat other organisms. So we use that mechanism. Now, the more the variety the landscape has, the sustainable it is. Sustainability comes from variety. Like every organism should be living in harmony. So, whoever is an organic farmer, he has to create a system wherein the pests are not eradicated, because we don't want to kill all of them. Why? Because pests are important to control the population. If there will be zero pests, then there will be a lot of population in the plants also. So that is why we have to work smartly. We can't kill every pest. Pesticides and insecticide will do that. And just like that, the pollution will, like, pollution, I'm saying, population will increase. A lot of crop production will be there and it will be wasted. So we have to keep the pest at a manageable level so that ecosystem can be maintained. So, the contrary to the conventional farming practices, which often use chemical methods to kill both useful and harmful life. Many microbes, many pests are there which are useful, and then many of them are useless. So, we have to do it carefully, right? So, let us see how that happens. The first case, all of this is like the theory part that says the organic farmer holds the views and everything. It's like not important. Moving forward to actual part, which is the biocontrol agent. See, everyone knows the ladybird, right? The beetle that has black and red spots on. And everyone knows dragonflies also. Now the ladybird and dragonflies, they are used as biocontrol agent to get rid of aphids and mosquitoes. Dragonfly feed on the mosquito. Ladybug feeds on the aphids. So they'll die. Now another example of microbial biocontrol agent is uh, in order to control the butterfly caterpillars is the bacteria Bacillus thuringiensis, that is in short called as BT. So these bacillus, or you can say this bacteria, is available in sachets. So, the farmer like tears open the sachet and sprays it all over the plants which are affected by the caterpillar. So when the caterpillar tries to eat the plant, they get this bacteria inside their body. And now when the bacteria goes inside the body of the caterpillar, it will cause the death of the caterpillar. But it only affects the caterpillar and not any other insect. So it will kill just the caterpillar. So the bacterial disease will kill the caterpillar but leave other insects unharmed. Because of the development of methods of genetic engineering, the scientists have introduced Bacillus thuringiensis toxin genes into the plant. Now, like after you can say gene modification or biotechnological application, there are plants that are made that have this toxin inside them. So whenever a caterpillar will come to take eat it, so the caterpillar will die. And one such plant is BT cotton. BT refers to Bacillus thuringiensis. There is BT brinjal, there is BT many other plants. Now, another form of biocontrol is the use of fungus, right? We know that in the treatment of plant disease, the fungus trichoderma. Now, the trichoderma species, they are free-living fungi that are very common in the root ecosystem, and they effectively control several plant pathogens. So, we use fungi also. Trichoderma is the example of fungi. So, we are using fungi also for our defense mechanism for saving our plants. Apart from that, baculoviruses. These are the pathogens that attack insects and other arthropods. The majority of baculoviruses used as biocontrol agents are in the genus nucleopolyhedrovirus, meaning the baculovirus, they belong to the nucleopolyhedrovirus, and they attack the insects and different kinds of arthropods, meaning the other families of insects, and the plants are safe. So the viruses, they are excellent candidate for species specific narrow spectrum insecticidal application. Species specific, they are like very specific that okay, they will attack one kind of species, not all. So that is why we can use them as insecticide. Okay, it will only attack the species that you want to kill and leave the rest unharmed. Now, they have no negative impacts on plants, mammals, birds, fishes, or even non target insects. And this is how it is a very great option for us to save our crops. This is especially desirable when beneficial insects are being conserved to aid the overall integrated pest management, right? So, this all in all, we have seen that biocontrol agents and integrated pest management goes hand in hand. It is a collaborative effect. So any doubts in this, students?
No, ma'am.
You people have understood till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Moving forward, we'll talk about microbes that are used as biofertilizer. Again, the word bio, if it comes, it means natural, something that is not chemically synthesized. So with our present day lifestyles, environmental pollution is a major cause of concern. The use of the chemical fertilizers to meet the ever increasing demand, because we know that if we use chemicals, it will cause pollution. Just 1 second, student. Yes. So, of course, we know now that it is very bad for us. It is very bad for the vegetation. So, we are slowly shifting towards organic farming. Have you people ever heard about organic farming?
No, ma'am.
See, organic farming refers to that kind of farming which does not use any chemical. Zero chemical farming, because chemicals and the disorders in humans, they go hand in hand. Why? Because if the farmer is trying to protect the crop, the plants from pest or insects, so he will spray insecticide, pesticide, and then that goes into the water, like into the soil. So when we'll eat the product of the plant, for example, if it is wheat, if it is any fruit, any vegetable, so we'll get that chemical inside our body and that will cause harm to us. So the kind of farming which will eliminate the use of any chemical in the farming is known as organic farming. And when we talk about organic farming, so we know that instead of using the chemical fertilizers, we can use biofertilizers. Now, what are biofertilizers? So, microbes are used as biofertilizer also, meaning we don't kill them. We use them so that they can fertilize. Fertilize means what? Give a better quality, make it more functionable. So, the main source, like the biofertilizers, are those organisms that would enrich the nutrient quality of the soil without causing any harm to the plant or any harm to us. Now, what are some biofertilizers? We have bacteria, fungi, and cyanobacteria. Now, everyone knows about rhizobium. Rhizobium is a symbiotic association with the legume plants. So what they do nitrogen fixation. So that they make nitrogen and nutrients available to the plants. So same way, apart from rhizobium, other bacteria can also do so, such as azospirillum, azotobacter. So they can enrich the soil nitrogen content. More nitrogen available in the soil, more nitrogen will be used by the plants. Moving forward, there are many fungi that form symbiotic association with plants, roots of the plants, such as that symbiotic association is called as mycorrhiza. So many members of the genus Glomus, remember this. Which genus forms mycorrhiza? To Glomus. So here, what happens? The fungal part of the mycorrhiza, it will help the nutrients to be available to the plants. It will make the nutrients available. And the plants, what will it do? It will make food and it will give it to the fungus. So it is a symbiotic association. Both of them are being benefited. So moving forward, plants also have association, show that other benefits also, such as resistance to root-borne pathogen. If the roots of the plant have fungus, so the pathogen can't attach to the root. So that is why it will be saved from the roots. Apart from that, it will be saved from, like, it will have more, or you can say better binding to the soil capacity, because of which drought cannot wash them away, right? You can say because of which soil erosion can't happen. Drought means in the case of water scarcity, that will not happen. So all of these things are there. So this is the fungal association. So we have talked about bacteria, we've talked about fungus. Now there is cyanobacteria. Now cyanobacteria, they are autotrophic microbes and they are widely distributed in aquatic and terrestrial environments. And what they do, they also do nitrogen fixation. The examples are Anabina, Nostoc and Oscillatoria. Now, in the paddy fields, paddy is rice. So, in the rice fields, cyanobacteria, they are very important biofertilizer. Blue-green algae also add organic matter to the soil and increases the fertility of the soil. So, up until now, we have seen all the organisms that are used as biofertilizer. So, in that, we have the bacteria, particularly the rhizobium. So, we have bacteria, we have fungus with an association called as mycorrhiza. Then we have cyanobacteria, right? And what else? Am I leaving out something? No, I'm not. So you people, like this is clear up until now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Also, students, don't worry about the notes. Probably by tomorrow's class, you'll get the notes for this chapter, that is microbes, and you'll also get the notes for the half part of human health and disease. So don't worry about that. So we are through with the chapter. Now you people tell me if you have any doubts up until now.
None, ma'am.
No doubts? This chapter was easy, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. It's just theory, ma'am.
Yeah, it's just theory. Everyone found it easy or someone found it difficult also? What about my girls? Amna and Siddhika? You tell me?
Ma'am.
Easy or difficult?
Easy. It's
Easy?
simple, ma'am. It's
Simple.
simple, easy.
You know, the questions that will be asked from this particular chapter, you will be like amazed. Very easy questions will be asked. Like when you read the chapter, try to focus on sewage treatment. Many a times that will be asked. Okay. Also, how microbes are used in the household, that can also be asked. So pay attention to those things while you're preparing for your exams. Also, even if I provide you the notes, still NCRT reading is very important. You have to read NCRT thoroughly before your exam. Okay, students, so we are done with this chapter. So we have completed human health and diseases, and now we have completed microbes and human welfare. Now you people tell me, which chapter should I start next? Now what chapters are left? We have evolution, organism and population, and I think
Biotechnology.
biotechnology. So 3 chapters are left, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Or is there any other chapter that is left? I have to see. So we have completed, okay. We have completed sexual reproduction in flowering plants. We have completed human reproduction, reproductive health, Then human health and disease, microbes in welfare, principle of inheritance we have done, molecular biology we have done. We have done so many chapters, isn't it? Now we just
Yes.
have 3 chapters left. Only 3 chapters. Evolution? No, actually, yeah, only 3 chapters. Evolution, organism and population, biotech. Which chapter should I start now, students? You only tell me, you only choose. Also, for all of the students that are there in the class, these chapters are common for your syllabus, right?
I mean, for my half yearly, only till evolution is coming. So, evolution and human health, till human health. Before human health, all chapters are coming.
Hmm.
That's
So,
it.
like all the chapters are done, only evolution is left, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So, shall I start evolution only?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will start evolution. 1 second. Now, see, evolution is also a long chapter, very theoretical chapter. But if you've understood it nicely, then you won't have any problem in it. Okay, students? No problems you will be facing. So I'm going to use the NCRT PDF only initially. Can you see the screen? Evolution, can you see it? Tell me, yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see this evolution PDF opened on the
Yes, ma'am.
screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The textbook PDF.
Hmm?
The textbook's PDF.
Yeah. Okay, all of you can see it, right? Okay. See, in this chapter also, it is very theoretical. There's nothing so conceptual that I can teach you in this particular chapter. Also, you people have your notebooks and pen in your hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then you give the heading evolution.
Ma'am, should we leave pages or should we just start or just should we continue?
Have you left pages for human health and disease like AIDS and cancer and drug addiction?
No, no, ma'am.
You leave pages for that so that you can complete your notes after I give you the PDF. Okay. And then you start this chapter because microbes you can do after this chapter is done. You'll get the notes. You can write whenever you want to. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. So you people can start on a fresh page. Write down evolution. Okay. So first of all, you people should understand the meaning of what evolution is or what this chapter contains, right? So when we talk about evolution, you people should know that. Okay, in your words only, you tell me what is evolution in your words. What do you understand by evolution? Hmm?
Characteristics of a person changing through generations.
Okay, correct. Very correct. See, when we talk about evolution, so we can say that earlier there used to be any form that had gotten new characters or better characters and then it got promoted, sort of, isn't it? So changing of the form, or you can say the random change from one form to another, is what we call as evolution, isn't it? And we study evolution just like how we study about inheritance and everything under genetics. Same way, for evolution we have evolutionary biology. So you write down, students, that evolution means Evolution means the act of unfolding. Evolution means the act of unfolding or unrolling Evolution means the act of unfolding or unrolling, and in simple terms, it means, and in simple terms, it means a random change, a random change from one form to another, from one form to another. Clear? Shall I repeat or everyone is done?
Clear, ma'am.
What about the others? You people are also writing, right?
Done, ma'am.
Okay. So you also write that we study about evolution. We study about evolution. We study about evolution under the branch of biology. Under the branch of biology called
M-
as
Ma'am, we study evolution.
we study evolution under the branch of biology called as evolutionary biology. Called as evolutionary biology. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, in this chapter, we are going to see how evolution happens, or how did it happen? How are we made in such a way? Who have been our ancestors, and what all things happen? To be honest, in the truest sense, it is all, you can say, useless for us to understand. Okay. But for the sake of the chapter, do you people believe that we came from monkeys? Hmm?
No.
No. No.
No, no, we don't. But evolution says so. So we have to learn that way only because of the chapter. Now, see, in this particular chapter, we're going to see the evolution in terms of variety of things. Human beings, plants, we're going to see all of the evolution, animals, everything. But before we talk about evolution of organism, we have to talk about how life was made, how the world came into existence. So for that, we'll talk about the origin of life. How did life start? Right? So now see, just this is all story time. So when we look at the stars on a clear night sky, we are looking back in time. Stellar distances are measured in light years. So we know when we look at a star, it has been made from like a while back, and now we are seeing it, right? So there are variety of ways that they say that when we see stars, we are seeking into the past. But again, of no use. Just remember that the origin of life is considered as a very big event in terms of evolution, because after the life arose on earth, then only we came into existence. So we know that the universe is vast, and the universe is almost 20 billion years old. This you note down in your notebook, that universe is 20 billion years old. We know that the universe have multiple galaxies present, right? We have so many galaxies there, and these galaxies, they have stars and clouds and everything. But when we look at the galaxy and when we look at the earth, so the earth is just like a dust particle. It is a speck in front of the galaxy. You people have seen solar system. The picture, right?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
beyond that particular solar system, you see black. Everything is black, isn't it? So these are the things that we know when we talk about the solar system. That is what we know. And the black part which is there, that is something we haven't yet discovered. So that is the galaxy. So in front of the galaxy, our Earth is very tiny. Now, initially, people say that there is a Big Bang theory, not the serial. Big Bang theory. So the Big Bang theory tells us how the origin of the universe started. So they said that during the origin of the universe, there was a very big explosion, a huge explosion, because of which the universe was formed. Okay, so while that single huge explosion happened, the universe expanded and the temperature came down. Hydrogen and helium, the elements that you might have studied in chemistry, right? The periodic table, hydrogen, helium. So they were found, and the gases condensation happened, right? They got condensed under gravitation, and then the galaxies were formed. Now, in the solar system of the Milky Way galaxy, Earth was supposed to have been formed 4.5 billion years ago. So you write down this also, that the Earth was formed 4.5 billion years ago. Now, when we talk about the Earth after it was being formed, then that Earth had a very different environment. It had a very different way that it was living. There was no atmosphere. Like we are surrounded by the atmosphere, but in the initial Earth, there was no atmosphere present. Okay. And apart from that, what happened is that water vapor, and you people know what volcanoes are?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. So when the volcanic eruption happened, then water vapor, methane, carbon dioxide, all of these were released on Earth. Okay. Then what happens? The UV rays, see, these things will not be asked in the question. Okay, the years might be asked, but whatever I'm saying right now will not be asked. Big Bang theory will be asked, like what is the theory that explains the formation of universe? So Big Bang theory. But these things will not be asked. Now what happens that the UV rays of the sun, they broke up the water into hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, and we know that hydrogen is like lighter than oxygen, so it escaped. Okay, apart from that, uh, rain happened. Okay, when rain happened because of condensation and everything, then water bodies were formed, oceans were formed, rivers were formed. So all of these things happened, and then life appeared on Earth 500 million years after the formation of Earth. We know that Earth was formed 4.5 billion years ago. And after the Earth was formed, right, Earth is made and everything happened. Then, after 500 million years later on, then life arose. Okay, so where did life come from? Because we are going to study the origin of life. So, where did life come from? So then many scientists and many thinkers and many philosophers, they started giving their theories. According to them, whatever they thought was right. So initially, there were people that were Greek thinkers, right? They believed in Greek mythology and everything. So they said that life came on earth in packets. According to them, he called those packets as spores. So they said that okay, spore like structures came on the earth that liberated and formed the life. And this is like the orthodox thinking, like the Greek thinkers. So again, very it was disapproved, even though it was a foot in one direction, not the right direction but in direction, but it was disapproved. Then the next was panspermia. Many astronomers, they thought of that panspermia theory for the origin of life. Now, according to the panspermia, what they said is that when life came on Earth. Okay, so it came in it came in packets. That is what they said, and the transfer happened from one planet to another, meaning the life had appeared in on another planet before, but from that it was transferred. Again, disapproved. Two theories we have seen: the spore theory and the panspermia. Now later on, a theory of spontaneous generation was given. Okay, let me see who gave the theory. It has not been mentioned who gave the theory, but Louis Pasteur. Have you heard about Louis Pasteur? Have you heard his name
I
before?
I heard, but I can't remember, ma'am.
How many
Where
of
I
you
heard
know
it.
what pasteurization is? Have you heard pasteurization before? No?
No, ma'am.
Okay, anyway, just remember that Louis Pasteur is a scientist. Okay, he was a scientist. So, spontaneous generation theory, this is the third theory. This theory stated that life came from non living matter. Okay, that life came out of decaying and rotting matter like straw and mud. But again, makes no sense. So Louis Pasteur, he said that this makes no sense. It is not possible. That life did not come from dead organism or dead matter. Okay, so this is what spontaneous generation theory was dismissed. But again, no one could answer how life came on Earth. Furthermore, there were two scientists, Oparin and Haldane. Okay, Oparin was from Russia, Haldane was from England. So they said that life came from pre existing non living organic molecules like RNA, protein, and that life, like the formation of life, was preceded by chemical evolution, meaning like they were some sort of, you can say, in one extent, correct. In terms of that, we have DNA all over our body. From DNA, RNA is made. From RNA, protein is made. So, if DNA or RNA came first on Earth, then maybe it could have formed the organism. So, for a while, uh, their theory was appreciated by many people. Okay, all right. Moving forward. So, according to them, they said that chemical evolution took place before biological evolution. So they said that diverse organic molecule from inorganic constituents. So according to them, at that time, Earth had high temperature. A lot of volcanic storms happened. The atmosphere was reducing and it contained methane, it contained ammonia and everything. So basically, Oparin and Haldane, they gave a theory that life came from chemicals such as RNA, protein. Now, to prove this theory, obviously, there is one person that gives a theory. Then there is another person that proves that theory by experiment. So, the experiment for this theory was done by Miller. Okay. So, he took it on a laboratory scale. And in the year 1953, he said that by doing this experiment, if the molecule that was initially produced, if that is made, then we can confirm this theory. So what he did, that on in a lab, in a electric this like flask thing, okay, this thing, he added the gases methane, ammonia, water and H2. See students, this is important. See, I've written Q here. Many a times they ask what all gases were added into the experiment, spark discharge and everything. So you should know these gases were added. Now, it was heated at 800 degrees Celsius and later on found that after the reaction happened, what was made? So amino acid was made. If you people remember that amino acids form what? They form proteins when they move.
Histamines.
Yes?
Histamines. The positive. Yeah. Histamine, I think they're known as histamines only. Cause
Histamine.
they carry amino acids. No.
See, there are many amino acids. There are positive amino acids, negative amino acids. Okay, histamine is a hormone. Histamine is not. Histidine is a protein, is an amino acid. Okay, so what happens is that amino acids were formed, and when many amino acids they come together, proteins are made, and our bodies have a lot of proteins in it. So they thought that okay, this is how it happened. Now then came many scientists. They did the same experiment, and then in their experiment sugars were formed, meaning carbohydrates, nitrogenous bases were formed, pigments were formed, fats were formed. So they said that okay, maybe this is the way life came. Now analysis of meteorite content also revealed similar compounds, indicating that similar processes are occurring elsewhere in spaces. So you people know what meteorite is? Meteor.
Yes, ma'am.
So when meteor came onto Earth, people studied meteor and they found that sugar, nitrogenous base, fat, lipid, proteins, amino acid, all of these things were found in them. So they thought, okay, the same thing or the same components which are present on Earth, they are present in other planets also. Okay. So later on, with all of these theories that came for the origin of life, evolution of life, chemical evolution, this one, wherein they say that we came from the molecules like the RNA, the DNA, the protein. So this was accepted to some extent because this is sort of um, being, or you can say looking like it is legit. How does it look legit? Because we are made up of all those components. We have fat in our body, we have lipids in our body, we have so many proteins in our body, we have amino acids, these things, DNA, RNA, everything is there. Okay, so this is how that. But again, the final call for the origin of life still unknown. Still, scientists are researching on that. So we don't know how life came on Earth, but the first non-cellular forms of life could have originated 3 billion years back. Non-cellular means non-living. So RNA, protein, polysaccharides, nucleotides, everything, it came 3 billion years back. So you write down non-cellular life, non-cellular life arose 3 billion years ago. Non-cellular life arose 3 billion years ago. And under non-cellular, you can write RNA, protein, DNA, all of that. Yeah.
1 minute.
Then student.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now later on, the first cellular life means now it may be unicellular, it may be multicellular. Now the organism is living. So it did not originate till about 2000 million years ago. But initially, all of the organisms would have been single cell organisms. And all of them were aquatic. Okay. So slowly, when evolution took place, terrestrial habitat was there. And then from the unicellular, multicellular organisms came. And this is what is known as biogenesis. Okay. So slowly, from the non-living molecules, the living molecules have been made. Okay. Any doubts up until now, students? Hmm?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Ma'am, this chapter is just like the previous two chapters, just theoretical.
The previous two chapters were interesting. This chapter is not even close to interesting. It is boring, major boring.
I find it interesting, ma'am.
You find it interesting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Good to know that. What about the girls? You find it interesting or boring?
Interesting, ma'am.
Interesting. Oh, that made me sort of interested. I do not like teaching this chapter even in my previous batches. Whenever I teach this chapter, I go low on energy. I feel so bored and even I feel sleepy. But okay, it's good that you people are interested. So now I will also teach it with enthusiasm. All right. Okay, now let's talk about the evolution of life forms. So initially, see, this is the only part of the chapter that says the truth. Conventional religious literature tells us that the theory of special creation, meaning this theory has three connotations, that life or the living organism that we see today were created as such. Isn't this what we believe, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Meaning the life that we have here or the life that we see here has already been existing thousands of years ago also, right? There were cows, there were buffaloes, there were humans. So the whole entire set was created, right? Allah made that set. So this is what we believe. This is the only part that is true in this chapter. Rest all then science came along. Now, so the first thing is that the living organism were created as such. The second thing is that it will always remain the same, meaning in the future also, like how in the past there was like a whole set of organisms, now also the same organisms are there, isn't it? And then apart from that, they also said that the diversity will remain the same. Okay, so and they also said that the earth is about 4,000 years old. But then in the 19th century, in the 19th century, this belief was said that okay, no, this is not right. Why? Because Charles Darwin, have you heard about Darwin before?
Who hasn't, ma'am?
Haven't? Okay, now you've
Yes.
heard about him. Charles Darwin. So he was on a voyage. He was on a sea trip, and his ship was named as HMS Beagle. So he was like on a voyage. He was doing the trip of the world. So he said that life forms share similarities to varying degrees, not only among themselves, but also that life that has existed before also. But those things that existed before do not exist anymore. So he said that. Also, we can say that obviously there are some organisms that have gone extinct that used to exist a while ago, now they don't. So that is what he observed. Now, he said that many life forms do not exist anymore. There had been extinctions of different life forms in the years gone by as new forms of life arose at different periods of history of Earth. So many life got extinct also, many new forms are made. Have you heard about this animal? Mammoth.
Yes,
Have you heard
ma'am.
about it? How many of you have seen Ice Age, the movie?
I
Have
have.
you have? In that mammoth was there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sort of looked like an elephant.
Yeah,
Hairy
but with the
elephant.
big tusk,
Yeah, had a big
really,
tusk. And
really
was
big
he
tusk.
was he an elephant? I don't think so. It was a mammoth. How
No.
could have it been an elephant? But
Yeah.
mammoths are not there in the world anymore. We don't have mammoths, right? So they got extinct. They had been there before, but they got extinct. But from them, a newly evolved life came, right? Now we have elephants, isn't it? How many of you have heard about dodo, the bird, dodo, right?
I have.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
that it is near extinction or it had got extinct. And how many of you have heard about that? Nilgai, right? Nilgai. Nilgai is also like sort of looking like a cow, but it is also on the verge of extinction. So when it will get extinct, you will never know, like the future generation will never know that something like that existed. So that is what he means to say that there has been a time that life, like some organisms have been extinct, but then there are new life forms also. Okay. So any population has built-in variation in characteristics. Those characteristics which enable some to survive better in natural conditions. Now, um, since the mammoths, they used to live in the ice age, right? In the cold environment. So they couldn't have ever survived in Africa or in any place of that sort. So now the African mammals or those that are found there, they are better to survive there. Why? Because they are adapted to the climate, they are adapted to all the different kinds of factors they have to face. But the mammoths wouldn't have been. So that is why, because of the presence of some characteristics, some organisms get benefited, some organisms get extinct because of that. Okay. Now, this property, okay, this property of having the capability to exist in the world, to survive in the world, is termed as fitness. Okay, so another word used is fitness. So, fitness of the individual or the fitness of the population, then only the organism can live there. And according to Charles Darwin, this fitness is not being strong, it's not being physically strong, it's being reproductively strong. Now, when I say reproductively strong, it means that that particular population or that particular group of organism, they have to be able to be fit enough to reproduce, right? Because the species continuity will happen only when the organism is reproducing, isn't it? For example, if we talk about elephants only, normal elephants that we have today, the population of elephants, it will keep on going, meaning the generation after us, the generation after that, they will be able to see elephant like an animal when the elephant population will be there till after 2 or 3 generations. So reproductive fitness is extremely important, and those organisms will survive better that have their progeny living, isn't it? For example, how people say that, okay, one must have 1 kid or 2 kids so that the generation lives, isn't it? So that is what we mean by reproductive fitness. So anything that would be fit according to the Darwin, it means that they are reproductively fit. So those who are better fit in an environment, they will leave more progeny than the others. And leaving more progeny, you people understand this? What do I mean by leaving more progeny?
More
Are you getting?
descendants,
Huh?
more descendants, more
More
children.
descendants, correct. Meaning more members of that particular population will be there. So the population continuity will happen, isn't it? Hmm?
Yes, ma'am.
Agreed? Agreed by you all?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now this is a point wali baat, which Darwin said, right? It is a meaningful thing that he said. So those that have more progeny or those that leave behind more progeny, they will survive more and they will get selected by the nature. So he called it as natural selection. So he said that natural selection is the way by which evolution happens. For example, I'll give you one very simple example. If we take mammoths and elephants only, okay, you know that mammoths has a like they had a limitation that they couldn't survive even if the temperature dropped down, oh sorry, became higher than whatever they had, even a little bit. Why? Because they had a lot of fur on their body, isn't it? But elephants could survive in a little colder temperature also and a hotter temperature also. So the nature will select elephants rather than selecting mammoths, meaning it will like the you can say elephants will leave behind more progeny and their line will continue, but the mammoths will get extinct. So this is what is called as natural selection. And natural selection is one of the most important mechanism for evolution. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
See, at the same time, there was another scientist whose name was Alfred Wallace. So he worked in Malay archipelago and he came to the same conclusion. Whatever Darwin said, he was working like Alfred Wallace was working on a different area and he said the same thing. Okay. Now, all the existing life forms share similarities and they share common ancestors. However, these ancestors were present at different period in the history of Earth, different epochs, different periods, different eras, right? They have been like periods and eras of the world. So we can say that all in all, the geographical history of the Earth correlates with the biological history of the Earth. Clear? Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am.
See, up until now, whatever you people have heard or listened or understood, it's just the basic thing. Okay. And not a lot of questions will be asked from this, not in depth, a little bit here and there, a tiny, teeny, you can say technicalities, those kind of questions can be asked. But now, what we are seeing here, the evidence for evolution. This is very interesting. This is the part that gets asked most in the exam, whether it is NEET, whether it is boards. Okay. So now, what are the evidences for evolution? How do we know that evolution happened? We have those evidences and we are going to use those evidences to study that, okay, evolution took place. So when we talk about that, the first thing that comes to our mind is the fossils. How many of you know what fossils are?
I know, ma'am.
What about others? Everyone knows what
I
fossils
know,
are?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Yes. So fossils, what happens is that when the organism dies, okay, that organism, because animals and all are there, so they don't get a proper burial, right? So they get buried anywhere on the soil, under the rock, or anywhere. So now their skeleton, their body structures, they get implanted onto the rock, implanted onto the soil, and even their dead remains are also found. So fossils are the remains of hard parts of the life forms found in rocks. Hard part like bones and all. The skin and the hair, all of that will degrade. But the bony part, the hard part, because when you put a stencil on something, it has to be hard enough to be imprinted. Now the rocks, they form the sediments and cross section of the earth crust indicates that the arrangement of sediments over one over the other during the long history of earth. Different aged rocks, sediments contain fossils of different life forms. Now you people know that there is the horizon, the soil horizon. Have you do you remember that from class 9 or 8 or I don't remember? Soil horizon, A, B, C.
A little bit, ma'am.
Only a little bit. Okay, you do know that it occurs in layers. Hmm?
Yes, ma'am. I remember that actually.
Okay, so when we talk about our soil, when we talk about our rocks, so the rocks are also different kinds. We have bed rocks, we have the ones that are present on the surface, right? So different layers are formed because the soil is formed, hundred of years takes place to form the soil. So when the soil is formed, you can say a lot of things like if like we are at the bottommost layer, the organisms that died during this soil formation, they are present here. Then after 100 years or 1,000 years, another layer of soil was formed. Now this time, whatever organism is there, it will get buried under this. Then more 100 years. So same way, there comes the layering. So every layer will tell us a different story. Every layer will tell us a different fossil. So that is why the fossils, they are a great evidence for evolution. Clear, students? The most common, or you can say the most important evidence for evolution is fossil. Now, so the different aged rocks, not aged, the different aged rocks, sediments, they contain fossils of different life forms who probably died during the formation of particular sediment. Some of them appear similar to the modern organisms. They represent extinct organisms, such as dinosaurs. Right? Dinosaurs, they have gotten extinct. But according to science, there used to be dinosaurs present. Now, what do people find in the soil? They find the teeth, big dagger like teeth, not actually the teeth, but the implant of the teeth. They find the footprints on the soil, right? So we can say that, okay, dinosaurs existed. Now, a study of fossil in different sedimentary layers indicates the geological period in which they existed. The study showed that life forms varied over time and certain life forms are restricted to certain geological time, meaning it appeared only for a while and then it got extinct. Just like dinosaurs, it appeared only for a while. Jurassic period. Jurassic Park, you people have seen the movie?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. The Jurassic was the name of a period. This is the period wherein the dinosaurs existed. So it tells us about the geological time span. It tells us about the organism. Also, people, how many of you have watched Friends?
Friends,
Hmm. The
I
series
have.
Friends. All of you have? Siddhika, Amna, have you people watched it?
Yes, ma'am.
So you know Ross?
Yes, ma'am.
He's paleontologist, isn't it?
Yes. Yes,
You've
ma'am.
seen his work. He works in a museum. So what does he do? He studies fossils. Clear? He has dinosaurs
Yes,
and
ma'am.
everything. He collects that. So
Yes,
he's a
ma'am.
paleontologist, right? So I'm not asking you to watch Friends. I'm just giving it an example. So the fossils, they are the paleontological evidence. Paleontology is the study of fossil. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So we have studied about the first evidence, that is fossil. Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am.
All right. Moving forward, we'll talk about. Okay, first you people tell me what is the difference between anatomy and morphology?
Anatomy means the innards of a body, and morphology means the outward, like the outward parts of the body, like the
Hmm,
characters that can be seen.
correct. Okay, so the study of anatomy and the study of morphology of organisms, that can also tell us a lot about evolution, a lot about how two different organisms are related to each other, right? For example, now the most important part of this chapter. For example, whales, bats, cheetah, and humans, basically all mammals, they have a similar pattern of bone, meaning in the forelimb, in the hand area, they will have same bones present. They'll have humerus, they'll have ulna, radius, finger bones, metacarpals, all of these things will be there. But if we talk about the use, for example, if I talk about whale, okay, I say that the whale and human beings, common, they have common bones present in their body. Whales also have the humerus, this bone. The whales also have radius and ulna. But do you think the whales and the humans, they use their forelimbs for the same thing?
No.
Or bat and humans, or bat and whales, do they use the forelimbs for the same thing?
No, ma'am.
No, they don't. But their structure is same or not?
Structure is same, ma'am.
Structure is same. So this kind of phenomena, wherein the anatomy is same, the structural development inside, right? The anatomy is same. So first of all, the anatomy is same. Secondly, the function is different, right? For example, the bats are using their bones for flying. The mammals are like the human beings are using their forelimbs for variety of things. The whales are using their forelimbs for swimming. So the functions are different, but their structural organization, the bones, the number of bones, the types of bones, these are the same. So this kind of evolution is known as divergent evolution. Divergent evolution, meaning diverge. What do you understand by the word diverge? English term, like what is the meaning of diverge? Okay, listen, I'm doing two actions. Okay, you have to tell me which one is diverge, which one is converge. Okay, I'm doing two actions. If I say this, what is this?
Diverge. Diverge.
If I say this,
Uh, Converge.
you people are getting what I'm trying to say.
Yes, ma'am.
Diverge, you understand? The direction diverge. Everyone understood this?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. So when I talk about the divergent evolution, all of them had same bones, same kinds of bones, but they use it for different functions. One for swimming, one for flying, one for running, climbing the trees, another for picking up things. So this kind of evolution wherein the structure is same, the function is different, we call it as divergent evolution. Always remember divergent. Okay, and the structures, for example, the forelimb of human and the forelimb of whale, they are homologous structures. Homo means same, so these are the same structures, but they have different uses, different functions. So that is what we call as divergent evolution. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Hmm. So homology indicates common ancestry, meaning okay, they have come from someone that had same things amongst them, but their functions got different later on. Now, other example for homologous structure or divergent evolution is the hearts of the vertebrates and the hearts or the brains of the vertebrates. For example, if you talk about the heart of fishes, how many chambered hearts are there in fishes? Two chambered.
Three.
Okay. Hmm. Mammals have four chambered heart. Reptiles and amphibians have three chambered heart.
Three chambers.
But what is common in them? They have chambers in the heart, isn't it? Right? Now, in fishes, different kind of blood is pumped out. In humans, separate bloods are pumped out. Right? So the functions are different, but the structure is same. Same goes for the brain. Then in the case of plant also, you can find homology, wherein we talk about the thorn and tendrils of bougainvillea and cucurbita. Okay, I'll keep it till here only. I'll tell you the structure. Like all of the like them come from some sort of stem, some sort of stem modification. Right? I'll tell you here only. See, when we talk about the thorn, how many of you have seen a thorn on a rose?
I have.
Right? You pick it, it pricks you, right? So when we, and how many of you have seen this kind of structure in plants? Green colored structures, spring like structures. You have?
No, ma'am.
No. See,